Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 15 of the Racer Insider Show. I'm Travis Turner. That is the Racer Insider, Lindy Suter. He is also, of course, now the racer historian working on the Suter 60. And boy, we may have to expand that number when we look at this decade. It's just absolutely insane. Those of you that caught some of episode 14, we began to preview it in the back half, and just a special group. And there's no telling how long Lindy and I could talk about these guys. We'll try to make sure it's not a crazy long show, but what a group, and the sheer number. And it's funny, as we got into this a while ago, we have historical information on 13 guys plus one extraordinary winner and Juwan Long. We're going to get to him in just a minute, but also a couple of guys we acknowledge, KJ Williams and Tevin Brown. They'll be in the 20s group. They started their careers here in the teens. So it's just unbelievable. And Lindy, as we welcome you in, I could not think of any better way to start it than to start it with one of your all-time favorites, the great Isaiah Cannon. Came in 2009, 2010, playing 20 minutes a game, 20.4 minutes a game as a freshman. That number went to 28 as a sophomore. Despite that, he is a four-time All-OVC selection, a two-time OVC Player of the Year, of course, in his junior and senior seasons. He absolutely exploded. He is a jump shooter extraordinaire, one of the best that's ever played. Along with his 2,050 points, he also had 385 assists. He got to the foul line and made 477 free throws at an 80.4% clip. 304 threes made total at 41.9%. A winner, a winner, a winner. And you called it early, my friend. One of the racers, inner circle all-time greats.
Oh yeah, remember the day well. I remember exactly where I was sitting in the CFSB Center when Isaiah Cannon came in for his visit, and I saw him running up and down the floor with him, and he was the best player on the floor that day. And the first thing I noticed was his elevation off of his jump shot and just how pretty it was and how much range he has. And I said, this guy's I can't miss. There's no way he is a can't miss. And that was actually the first guy. I think Godfrey referred to me texting, players. He was the first one I ever sent to Godfrey. He was actually doing color. We were playing California. And I said, watch number 3. And he sent me a text right back. And, you're right. You're right. And boy, I think he just had probably the best 4-year career anybody here. I mean, I can't imagine the 4 years of what all was accomplished. He won his first team all conference, 20 minutes coming off the bench. I don't know if that's ever been done. I doubt that it's ever been done. I can't imagine it. He was also MVP of the conference tournament that freshman year. And was a first team All-American, a great personality, a guy that you very seldom caught without a smile on his face, a guy that really genuinely loved playing the game. And boy, Isaiah had a swagger. He had a swagger about him too. And the night he really exploded on the scene when it was 64 miles west of here. Isn't that right? Something like that. That night on ESPN when he went off against P, and Greg Walker doing the P game. Of course, everybody loved Greg, and he was just he just couldn't believe it. But Isaiah Cannon, great performances, some of our best wins, top 10 in the country while he was here, All-American. Probably got hurt his senior year a little bit because Zay Jackson got into trouble that hurt Isaiah. If Zay would have been on that team with Isaiah, it probably cost Isaiah some money actually. But and he's continued to have a great career. I mean, he's still playing. He had an injury this year. He looked like he was bouncing back from it pretty good, but that doesn't surprise me because of Isaiah's work ethic. He's always been in top shape condition. And no doubt, a racer great for sure.
Yeah, Lindy, it's just there's so many things you look at. I mean, he came in, he shot 48% from 3 as a freshman. I mean, right out of the gate, that's the impact. And he's one of those guys too. And of course, I think for everybody that watched him, the smile on his face, just as you said, almost permanent. It was just always there. And Isaiah is going to be another one of those players that the numbers do him justice. I mean, the
Yes.
numbers are they are legendary as well. But he is true legend because he's one of those guys that you need to have seen him to understand. I mean, he just did special things. Again, the elevation on the jumper, the range on the jumper, the way that he could embrace the big moment and make incredible plays in incredible situations. And again, hashtag winner for you. He always was, and I think that's one of the neat things for all of our heroes. I know what a Bob Gibson guy you were,
Mhm. My
and
hero.
and and there are just certain players that the legend and seeing them in person and who they were in moments as competitors just outstrips everything. And that goes on Isaiah's plaque for sure. Bigger than life in a lot of ways.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In fact, I think he has 2 NCAA wins in his career. Yeah, Vanderbilt and Colorado State.
Yep.
So he has 2 of them. That's hard to do. And and here's the main reason that we had those.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and again, the unselfishness of him being a first team all conference player, uh, freshman of the year, accepting those 20 minutes, accepting playing 20 minutes, accepting coming off the bench because you didn't want to disrupt the chemistry of BJ
Right.
Jenkins and Isaac Miles
Right.
his freshman year. I
Yeah.
mean, there was also that sticking with us. And don't believe me, they were after him. They were after him. In Mississippi, you know how they are down there. And, sticking with his commitment, staying with our program, and, really, he vaulted us to places we'd never been.
Yeah.
Bottom
And
line.
and the players he played with, because Isaac, of course, was in our previous
Yes.
decade. We've also got on this list guys that he played with coming soon: Jeffrey Moss, Dante Poole, BJ Jenkins, Ed Daniel, Ivan Aska. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to slip your special winner in right here, right now. The OVC Defensive Player of the Year, Jawan Long, who just got it done in so many ways. And Lindy, between shows, I looked it up because you talked about his improvement as a 3-point shooter as a senior,
Yes.
42.3%. But a guy who checked every intangible winning things box that you could, plus the great defense. You absolutely wanted to make sure Juwan got mentioned in this show.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, capital letters, hashtag capital winner. He was a winner in high school. That's one of the things I always look at myself in the program that they were in before, high school, junior college, or whatever. Was you part of a winning program? Were you part of a winning culture? And he was. And he had a twin brother down there. And I watched their high school career because I knew Prome was recruiting him and recruiting him hard. In fact, I went down there and even watched him play. And I thought, man, that dude just has something about him. Maybe wasn't flashy, but like you said, just hard nosed, tough, smart, basketball IQ, the perfect teammate.
Yep.
Almost the perfect teammate. No question. And I'm sure he's still the perfect teammate to those guys he played with because Juwan has continued on being the kind of guy he is, very successful in the work he's doing, living down in Florida, got 2 kids, as cute as they can be. And just it's fun to see Juwan turn out that way because, a lot of people don't know this, but Juwan's father passed away his senior year in high school. And that was him and his brother. That was their deal. It hit that family really hard. But Jawan was such high character. I mean, it's in fact, he's the first player Steve Prohm recruited to Murray State.
A
Was
good
Jawan
place to start.
was Jawan Long? It sure
Yep.
was.
He became a foundational guy for the program. Couple of forwards here, and then we'll swing back to some guards because we need to give some front court love out. A couple of guys who started as the decades crossed over. The first of those, Ivan Aska. And Ivan, probably one of those guys, too, that has a little bit of what could have been. I know he dealt with some health injury and injury issues in his career, but right out of the gate, he came in 08, 09. He was a double-figure scorer, an efficient player, 52.7% from the field, 10.3 points a game each of his first 2 years. He was averaging around 5 or a little more rebounds. He shot nearly 59% from the floor as a sophomore. The junior years when the injury issues sort of started to hit and hurt his availability. but he bounced back with a really strong senior season, 10.4 points, 6 rebounds a night on 48% shooting, and finished his career with 1,218 points, 678 rebounds. And again, Lindy, a lot of wins.
Yeah, a lot of wins. A team guy too. I mean, you could probably throw Jawan Long and Ivan Aska in a hat and draw one of them out when it comes to character. And they're I don't even know how to put it in words with Aska, but he was when you talk about him coming in that freshman year, I remember when he played that game, I think it was against Western. And that guy, the one thing I noticed about Ivan Aska, every possession, Ivan Aska was full blast from one end of the court to the other. I'll bet you Ivan Aska never got beat back.
Right.
Because that guy played on that level too.
Right.
Ivan's still playing. Ivan's still playing too. Just a super player, super guy. Was a really big part of all this of the decade, the winning of the decade with Ivan Aska. But man, what a group of guys that we're throwing off right there.
Oh, it's incredible that his partner and getting it done in the front court a lot of those years, Ed Daniel, who became a cult favorite for a lot of people in Racer Nation. And Ed is another one of those great stories of developmental climb in terms of becoming the player he would be. Freshman year, 10.5 minutes a game. Sophomore year, 17.8 minutes a game. Junior year, 23.6 minutes a game. Senior year, 29.6 minutes a game. By the time his career was over, he had started averaging 3 points a game. His senior year, he averaged over 13. First year, he averaged 2.7 rebounds a game. By his senior year, it was 10 rebounds a contest, and he led the OVC. For his career, he shot 55.5% from the field. Of course, a lot of that getting done around the basket. But in his career, 931 points, 719 rebounds, 156 blocks, a lot of energy, a lot of emotion, a lot of highlight reel plays, and again, a lot of wins for Mr. Ed Daniel.
Yeah, another one of those guys, probably like Cuthbert Victor, Isaac Spencer. I've talked about how explosive they were off the floor. That dude was explosive off the floor too. He could get up there, and I know everybody remembers the run down block shot against Marquette in the NCAA tournament. Was one of the great plays that I can remember Ed Daniel for. But the year with the afro, and of course that made him 6'8", always like that. He didn't look no 6'5" or 6 with that afro. And Prom was talking about cutting it, and I said, no. You cut the hair, it's gone, man. You're gonna have to keep it going. In fact, it makes him 6'8", so let's keep it there. But what a group of guys, though, man, because you're talking about all those guys that we just mentioned. They all played together, not on different teams. So it's no surprise when you start mentioning them how high they actually got that year.
Yeah, these were such good teams, and so many instances where guys were able to sublimate themselves. They were able to fit and assimilate, and guys did it again and again. We talked about what Isaiah did when he came in, but Isaac had to accept him. BJ had to accept him, and we're going to get to BJ Jenkins next. These forwards, Ivan, the ball could have run through him more often, but the guard play was so good. And these guys who did so many different things. BJ Jenkins in 2 years with the Racers, 10.6 points a game, 11 points a game, shot it at 38 and 39% from three those 2 years. He has the number 2 free throw shooting season by percentage in Racer history, 90.5% in 2010, 2011. He was also a larcenous guy who was always taking the ball from other people. He had 64 steals his first year, 49 his second. That 64 steal season, one of the best in Racer history, single season, and just another guy, 124 threes total, again at 39% in his career, 731 points over his 2 years. So you can kind of project that and have an idea what a 4-year impact was from a BJ Jenkins, but just one more cog in what was a great Racer machine.
Yeah, that's the reason Isaiah Cannon was sitting on the bench his freshman year, Travis. 64 steals, I would imagine, because we know Billy Kennedy. Was that the year? I don't know if that was the year or not, but yeah, Isaiah's freshman year, BJ and Isaiah starred. Yeah, that team right there.
Yeah, that's that team. Yes.
Yeah, that has the Vanderbilt team there as a team that beat Vandy. And Ed had a big game in that game against Vandy too as a freshman. But yeah, really good, solid player. Just a good
Lindy,
and
another one of
had
our
confidence.
favorites.
He had a little swagger about him too.
Yep.
EJ knew he was good. He wasn't backing down from nobody. That was the one thing all these guys had in common. They didn't. What was on the jersey didn't matter to them. I mean, they didn't back down from anybody.
Yeah, and guys that were big shot takers and big shot makers. And
Man, you just mentioned B.J. Jenkins, a 38% 3-point shooter, and Isaiah, 40-something% 3-point shooter. And I imagine we're fixing to jump to another 40% 3-point shooter if he's a guard.
yeah, you're going to have another guy here, and we're going to get to one of the best shooters in Jeffrey Moss. But first, Lindy, another guy whose story I love is Dante Poole.
Oh, love it.
Because another development guy he was a role guy, he was a role guy, he was a role guy. His first 3 years, he never played more than 16.8 minutes a game. His senior year, it explodes to 31. This is in that 11-12 season where so many great things happen. He averages 14 points a game and shoots it at a 38% clip and 63 steals for him, which is 6 all time in the single season. And I always love these guys. I just think it's an awesome thing. Dante, for his career, finished with 882 points and 130 steals. But those players who hung around, contributed to winning, and then when the door opened, kicked it down again. 14 points a game on 38% shooting from deep while getting 2 steals a game. Big time stuff.
Big time stuff. And I know that, in fact, that senior season was special. And like I said in the last episode, or might have said it in this one, I don't know. But those 6 threes at Memphis that he had was just a show. I mean, we don't win that game, and that's what really vaulted us on the national scene that year. And to this day, I think we beat Marquette if Dante Poole hadn't broke his nose against Colorado State. He was wearing the mask, and there's no way you can wear that and have a broken nose and play the same way that you did. And I really think that hurt us. But what a key, and a really good story, like you said, a really good story. Dante hung in there. I think he got called to duty early because of an injury too. I think he was in a redshirt that freshman year.
Yep.
And he missed the first. He missed a lot of the first part of the season, I think.
Yeah, and he went out, Lindy, and again, you just love to see this development because I mean it's here on the page. His freshman year, he shot 19% from 3. Second year, it's 28%. Third year, it's 34. Fourth year, it's 38. And if there is truly a downside of the era that we are in now, because of the ever swinging portal door, never mind guys going out, it's also guys coming in, and the guy that gets the chance to make the 4-year climb, like Dante did, we may never see it again, but it's a special thing. And ultimately, how does that team in 11-12 do what they did without Dante Poole's development and who he was as a guy? And I want to make sure we say this because these guys that were so important to the fabric, obviously Isaiah was the star. Everybody understands that. But what Ed could do defensively up front, Ivan's hustle, toughness, selflessness, but Dante, the way that he fit and he could get after you. And when we knew that first team Steve had was going to be special, I'll never forget, Lindy came in. And remember, there were already a lot of success going on through Billy's years, obviously. But Lindy said, we've been playing all these guys and we've had all this balance, but there's been like the offensive unit and the defensive unit. He said, this group here is going to be the best two-way team we've had in quite some time. That proved to be very true.
Boy, it really did. And that's hard to do, to have a really good offensive team, a really great offensive team, actually, and then have such a good defensive team. Of course, led by our guy, too, Juwan Long. And like you said, Ed Daniel was for 6'6". I don't know if you'd find a better defender in the post than Ed Daniel at his size.
Absolutely. Tremendous.
He was a hoss. There ain't no doubt about it. But yes.
It's quite a group. And then as they begin to transition from the Isaiah era, as he is finishing, in comes Jeffrey Moss. And Jeff, of course, the team is so good out of the gate. He's a role player off the bench. He's a shooter. He only plays a limited role. He averages 4.4 points a game, but he shoots 40%. He makes 25 threes at a 40% clip. And then he settles in, bridging the campaign years, and just makes shot after shot after shot. The next 3 years, he averages 13.2, 11.2, and 14.2 points a game. His threes keep climbing. Eventually, his senior year, he makes 80 of them. He never shoots worse than 38% from three for his career. 218 triples at a 40.5% clip. And Jeff was a guy who would get a lot done. He was a guy his junior year, he had 76 assists, 37 steals, 134 rebounds. All told, it's 1,409 points, 432 rebounds, 249 assists, and just a quiet assassin, especially in the corners. Write it down for Mr. Moss.
Oh, he was deadly. I don't know, Cuthbert Victor or Jeffrey Moss. I don't know which one of them talked the most. It'd be interesting to know that. But boy, you're talking about guys that just went out on the floor and did it, and a great family too. Got to know his dad real well. He sat with us during those several of those seasons. The thing I always hated about Jeffrey, I don't think we won a championship the 4 years he was here, and it wasn't because of him.
Right.
I think there was a transition period going on during that time period. I think Matt was just coming in as the coach, but yeah, he's really good. His brother ended up coming up here and playing a little football. But Moss, I mean, he had a really big shot in the NIT, I think it was, out in was it Old Dominion what we were playing? One of those in the NIT, where they hit one at the end of the game and beat us. Yeah. But he made big shots, a pure shooter, my kind of guy. When you say 38, when you say 40, when you say 42, and you say 45, anytime it's 38 or above, he's my kind of player.
Lindy, 3 different seasons, he shot over 40%, and that's how you do it for your entire career. And I hate, while we're remembering Racer greats, to give credit to one of our rivals, but one of the things about winning championships in the OVC, there was a team in Nashville that arrived that began to make that a little bit harder back in those days. So
yeah, that lad, I think it was what year was it? I guess that might have been his sophomore, Isaiah's senior year.
Yep.
Yeah,
12,
Isaiah's senior year that's when I come unglued about the municipal. I think, I'm not for sure. It's right along in that era.
That's when that momentum started to pick up, and the Racers will eventually turn the tables on those Bruins. We got some guys coming that are going to do that in just a little bit, but the next group is kind of that Cameron Payne era here for just a second, and we'll start the Cameron Payne era with Cameron Payne. What a 2 years that he had coming in, and he kind of snuck up on people in a lot of ways. And given how slender he was, it's not surprising he slid through there a little bit unnoticed. But man, just phenomenal. And Cam also was a guy who just kept getting better in his 2 seasons. Came right in, 16.8 points a game, made 72 triples at a 34% clip, had 185 assists, 57 steals. In year 2, the scoring goes to 20.2 points a game. The shooting goes up to 45.6 overall, 38% from 3, made 84 triples, gets to the foul line, knocks in 133 there, 209 assists, 68 steals, all told, 1,279 points, nearly 400 assists. Quite a career for Mr. Payne in just 2 seasons.
2 seasons, and if I'm not mistaken, he had a team get ranked 25th in the nation that didn't get a invite to the NCAA tournament his sophomore year, which was kind of a travesty. But anyway, yeah, Cam Payne, when he came in for his recruiting visit, I bet he didn't weigh 150 pounds. I looked at him, I said, does he have an ID? I want to check his ID. He looked like he was about 16, 15 years old when he came in for that visit. And I was first there thinking, I'm looking at him and thinking, interesting. And I think he even came off the bench for his AAU team, from what I understand. So he wasn't really in the spotlight a lot in the AAU summer while the recruiting was going on. And another Memphis kid, which we've had some pretty good players come out of that town. But yeah, he was so smooth. That was the thing. He didn't really appear quick. He wasn't fast, but he was just smooth, and he had his own way about playing the game too. He didn't play it like nobody else. He played it like Cam Payne played it.
Yep.
and another kid that's confidence levels off the charts.
Off the charts.
Was off the charts. I don't know if there's ever been a more confident player, okay,
Right.
than him. I mean, he was totally very confident. But just another guy, numbers hanging in the rafters, 2-year player. Just hard to believe when we went from campaign to Isaiah Cannon, and then you get this campaign, and it's kind of mind-boggling a little bit. That's when point guard use started being talked about.
Well, that's it. And one of the things that too, Lindy, amazes me about Cam, and I love the way you described the uniqueness of his game. And I always just thought of Cam, and I just thought clever. I mean, he was just a guy that he was slick. I mean, he just always had a little bit of, if his giddy up needed full speed, then he had it. If it needed a little hitch in it, a little change of pace, it had it. And, he was a guy that was great at, squeezing himself through spots that maybe he shouldn't have. And again, because he had the swagger and confidence, never afraid. And the other thing that Cam has done that speaks to that confidence and also to his intelligence and resilience as a player, after going in as a lottery pick and then eventually meeting some hard times, that he carved out the career in the NBA as a veteran that he has is a testament to all of those qualities. It's an amazing thing, really.
Yeah. It really is. It really is another really great story. Him being able to come from off the bench AAU to Murray State, he wasn't really expected to start that freshman season, Travis. It was really going to be Zay Jackson.
Right.
Zay Jackson was going to be the starter. Now, campaign didn't have nothing. That one thing I have to say, Zay Jackson intimidated a lot of guys. He did not intimidate campaign. CJ Ford, he intimidated the heck out of him. He beat him up and spit him out. But this kid right here, and probably ruined his career, but because he was so, I'll never forget Zay Jackson. I think he took the ball away from him 4 times in a row, and Zay was, he called timeout and said, "Is this all I got to beat out? Is this dude?" I mean, he was something else. But anyway, but Cam, we went to Evansville, I think it was, to play one of those secret scrimmages they used to have, where scores wasn't released. He really wasn't trying to win the game, bull crap. But anyway, I think he took 24 shots, Travis. 24 shots. And I did think he started getting double figures, and I think it became easier for Prone that day. Well, I know it did, to accept the fact that he had lost Zay Jackson, but he had campaign.
He had campaign. Yeah. Since Lindy mentioned Evansville there for a minute, before we get to Cam's high flying front court partner, I want to mention something because it may be, and not that it would take anything away from the greatness of these guys as it is, but as we are in a Missouri Valley era now, somebody might say, well, you guys in episode 14, when you were previewing this, you were pretty cocky about the worth of this roster. And, this was the OVC. Could this team win the Missouri Valley? You betcha.
Yes.
And we used to have this scale that Lindy used every year. And it, we saw it happen. And then we used it every season that came after. And we had a couple of different measuring sticks. One was the games we played against Missouri Valley opponents, because we played several in the non-conference. But we also had what we called the Suitor League, which included those Missouri Valley opponents, Illinois State, SIU, Evansville, certainly part of that group, and then anyone else from the Missouri Valley we might play. And then in the Suitor League, we also had Austin Peay, Belmont, Middle Tennessee, Western. And the rule was if that edition of the Racers, as they went through those Suitor League opponents throughout the course of the year, if they dominated that schedule, then check. Championship was coming. And the same thing we felt like would have applied to the Missouri Valley. And the thing that Billy's teams that went on to win an NCAA tournament game, that Steve's teams that did the same, that Matt's teams would do the same. Check, 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 check. Agreed, my friend?
Oh, no question about it, Travis. No question about it. Check, check, check.
So all these guys, are they all Missouri Valley, the best guys, the players of the year, the first teamers? Yes, they are.
Yes, they
Absolutely.
are. And, and if everybody likes to go by the computer rankings, right?
Yep.
Those teams that you talked about, three of them were in the top 40 in the Ken Palm rankings.
And there you
There's
go.
not a team in the Missouri Valley
Yep.
right now in the top 50 or 60, probably.
There
Belmont
you
might
go.
be close.
Yep.
So, yeah, I know we had. Well, first of all, like you said, we did good against Missouri Valley Conference opponents when we were in the OVC. I've always said if you can beat SIU and Belmont, you're probably going to be at the top of the league. I
Right.
still think that holds true, and it held true back then too. And
Absolutely.
I don't buy that at all. John Morant's number two. He would have been, in fact, the biggest mistake the Missouri Valley Conference ever made, and probably hurt us in our transition. If we'd have had John Morant and that team transitioning into the Missouri Valley Conference,
Oh,
when
Lord
they
have mercy.
when they turned us down,
Yeah.
and took Valpo instead.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish that hadn't happened because that team went over at SIU and just beat them to death. I mean, John
Yeah.
Morant might have 30 at halftime. I don't know
Yeah.
what it was.
That group
And
was a bunch of killers.
another thing old John done, he would have filled those arenas up too.
Woo.
But
Ain't that a
yeah,
fact?
big fact. So no, nobody will ever run that by me because first of all, the OVC was pretty dang good back then too.
Yeah.
Wasn't bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just the best of the racers in Belmont alone
Yes,
was
exactly.
was was a was was a
Now, it's
was a
probably
real
the worst
problem.
thing that ever happened to the OVC because Murray and Belmont had dominated from the 90s almost all the way through. The rest of them just give up.
They just gave up.
Gave up.
Now, before we get to Jarvis, Lindy, I am going to take a snapshot of the last 2 minutes because we talked about this a little bit last week. But I want people to understand if you want to know what the best of Lindy Suter looked like back in the radio days during my radio show when he had his best fastball ready every week. If you watched and you listened closely, that idea of somebody maybe thinking those guys weren't good enough, Suter blood temperature got a little warmer, didn't it?
Yeah, it always did.
And he said, just go ahead and try to argue with him on that one. And that's what it was like back in the day when he was after the sports council and the folks down in Brentwood.
That's awful.
He'd get that heater going.
Oh, you should have seen me coming out of that parking garage.
Must listen radio back there, folks. I'm just
boy.
saying. And a lot of you guys were around for it. Must listen to must watch. And Lindy, one of my favorite guys to watch was Jarvis Williams. His 2 years, man, oh man, that guy, an absolute highlight reel. 14.9 points per game on 65% shooting, and many of those dunked with authority. He got to the foul line all the time, over 200 attempts both of his years. He got 9.9 rebounds in year one. It was 15.7 points on 56.7% shooting in year two. All told, in his 2 years, he averaged over 15 points and 9 rebounds on 60% shooting, 1,055 points and 631 rebounds. Lindy, if we went ahead and punched that out for 2 years, you're talking about a 2,000, 1,000 guy. Tremendous talent, Jarvis Williams.
Tremendous talent. I remember when he came in for his visit, I was sitting with his dad, and I was sitting on down far from his dad, down the other end. No, but anyway, I saw Jarvis. It didn't take long. He's running up and down the floor, just running, and I'm looking at his dad. Hey, he plays our style of ball. I mean, he's gonna flourish here when because he can get up, and I love the way he run the floor. And that guy, I don't know if he ever had to catch his breath. I don't ever remember him catching his breath. I mean, he didn't. He hardly sweated. He could play so. I mean, he could. That's why all this time management, limited minutes, and all that crap just gets on my nerves big time. What was Jarvis?
He was a physical machine.
He was, and he's still playing, and he's still doing really well too. I mean, doing really well. Yeah, Jarvis came out of that junior college in Georgia. He was a key recruit. Matt was the lead guy on Jarvis. Matt McMahon was, and he's the one that recruited Jarvis, and that was a key piece. if you remember that year, we were having to replace our inside guys.
Yeah.
And we came in with Jonathan Farrell and Jarvis Williams.
Yep.
I'd take Jonathan Farrell and Jarvis Williams today.
Oh, without question.
Yeah.
Without question. I mean, Lindy, this group is so crowded, and Jonathan, of course, battled some injuries. And of course, he was the guy on that team that he just wasn't going to have a lot of offense run through him. But he was such a talent. And I'll take just a couple of minutes. I won't do it justice like James Kane would do it. But our friend James Kane, who Lindy and I both absolutely love, and James would come on my show back in those days, and he would talk about camps and different things. But I'd always get a story or two out of it. And he tells this story about Jonathan, and he said, Travis, he said, I'm going to tell it right now. He said, I'm going to tell it on myself. He said, I've never felt worse about myself as a human being than when Jonathan got to us and he got to campus. He said, so I'm a Miami guy. This is a South Florida guy. And he said, one of my best friends, one of my guys says, hey, you need Jonathan Farrell. So we bring him in. And he said, he's supposed to be this physical monster, which he was, but he's supposed to be a tough guy, high motor. He said, he gets there and he said, we can't get him to piss a drop. He said, we're getting nothing out of it. And he said, I am just all over him. Said, just destroying him, just
killing him.
He said, I call my boy back home and he said, I'm like, what have you done to me? Why did you send this guy up here? And he's like, James, no. I'm telling you, there's got to be something going on. This kid, he absolutely, he's got the motor. He's got it. He goes, something's going on. And Coach Kane says, lo and behold, we find out the poor kid's trying to play with a hernia.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I remember it well.
He said, as soon as the exam comes back, he's like, oh, he said, so immediately I got to go to Jonathan and said, hey, big fella, man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And it said, as soon as he got well, boom, there's the guy we had.
Was all over Kane about that. What in the world? I mean, come on, man. And I was there. I was watching the pickup games, so I knew, the practices, pickup games and practices, and then to find out that, because I was kind of getting a little bit upset because I thought they was being a little rough on him. I did. I actually thought they were being a little rough on him.
Hey, James said so. He said, man, we were killing him.
And I'm thinking, man. And then when I found out he was hurt, I thought, it's the same thing as James. I thought, well, God dang, y'all. I was really happy, though. That was the reason.
Right.
But, yeah, he was just such a physical presence. I mean, he's a guy that when you walked out in the court, it didn't matter who you were playing. He was physical.
Yeah. Well,
as I always said, if things ain't going right, you always want that guy that can whoop the other guy.
Yeah. Well, that's like if you walk in, you say to me, hey, he's your guy.
Yeah.
Don't want any
made a big play. I think he had a play too that he made, inbounds play at Evansville that won the game. That was a key momentum. There's another Missouri Valley Conference team.
Yeah. And Jonathan was just a high level talent. He really was a fine player. Another backcourt guy that was critical in that time, Lindy. And hey, we didn't have the immediate eligibility portal, but the Racers were bringing guys in, and the wait year continuity worked a little better maybe when guys were around the program for a year before they had to play. But TJ Sapp comes in from Clemson, and man, he has just a couple of phenomenal years. 13.3 the first year, 12.4 the second. Another guy, and TJ was just a strong physical guard. He could score a lot of ways, but man, he shot it really well over the course of 2 years. Lindy, he made 111 threes at a 38.5% clip, 752 points over his career, and just another one of those guys who wasn't afraid to mix it up and compete at any level.
And these guys are better now that you're reading off those stats than they even thought they were.
Exactly.
You'd have never thought he'd have been a 38% three-point shooter, but he was. And not only was he that, he was a really good, what you would say, offensive, defensive player.
Two-way guy, yep.
He was a two-way guy.
Had over 60 steals in his 2 years.
He was a competitor. He was a really, a lot of the leadership in that team came from TJ Sapp. He was a guy that really appreciated our fan base too. I got some quotes I took pictures of about how he felt about our fan base's senior year. And I think there is is there a picture, I think, of Jarvis and Farrell and Sapp, the three of them on the Racer Insider, looking up at the video board. It was one of my favorite shots, I believe, that we've ever had. Because I bet they were seniors at the same time, right? Yeah.
Yes, and
Yeah,
a pretty darn good crew.
pretty dang really good crew. But boy, that season started off. I know we're talking about players, but if everybody, I went down to Nashville and to a tournament, one of those things that I didn't really want to go because I knew where it was being played, but I went anyway. It was played at Municipal Auditorium. And I think that who was it that Drake beat the crap out of us, and somebody else beat us by 20 something points. And man, we were in that hotel and everybody was down. And then I remember Farrell and TJ walked into the hotel lobby. They came over, they sat around where I was set. And the next thing I know, TJ's calling the team meeting. And from that day on, and I think another thing happened during that tournament too. I think they realized campaign.
Right.
I think that all of them, because they were upperclassmen. Here comes this
Sure.
dude, and I think that was part of it. But they did it. That all worked out after that, and they ended up having a really heck of a season. But you'd have never thought that when we were down in Nashville. But TJ, and then he came back. He's still active. He was on our staff the last, and was really good too. Was really good. I hope that somebody gives him a shot again at the college level to where he can advance his career. But I think he's down in Florida coaching now and doing well with his team. And he's got a lot of hands on a lot of talent down there. I know that for sure.
Well, and what a guy to pass along that competitive gene, that Lindy.
Mike, the one thing you keep, all these names that you keep bringing up, man, every one of them have that quality. TJ Sapp had Juwan Long's quality. Alvin Aska had that. That just that it, the it factor.
That factor, and that's why the success continued to be a thread through that decade. There's no question. As we move into the Matt McMahon era and transitional times, a couple of guys that were terrific players. The first year, of course, was tough from a record standpoint, but then a little infusion of talent joined them, and they got to enjoy some really special stuff. We'll start with probably one of the most skilled and just talented forwards we've had, Terrell Miller. And I was talking about these numbers with Lindy earlier. The shooting from this big man, just really incredible. He was a lifetime 40% shooter in his 2 years with the Racers from three, 67 of 179 from deep his first year, 39.6, 70 of 174 for 40.2%. In 17-18, he averaged 16 points a game his first year, 15.1 the second, 8.2 and 8.6 rebounds. In 2 years, 1,012 points, 544 rebounds. And Lindy, when you talk about your love for shooting, to get that from a power forward type the way that Terrell was, that's an extra special weapon there.
I'll never forget when Terrell Miller came in for his visit. Kane brought him up to Hungry Bear. Here come big Terrell Miller in, James Kane, and he sits sitting over, I'm across from him. I looked at him, I said, if you're the next AJ Patterson, his butt's gone. I shouldn't have said that, but it really happened. I said, his job's on the line, Terrell. He's got to be better. And boy, was he. He was a stud. He showed out against West Virginia. I mean, if he'd have had a little bit better attitude, if he'd had a Juwan Long, Ivan Aska type latitude, or maybe, life growing up, who knows? There's all kinds of factors that come into kids. I mean, we're not all brought up in the same house, same town, same living conditions. So things can turn out different. But Terrell, man, he was great against West Virginia. He was the only one that showed up for that game, really, and had a heck of a game. And was it West Virginia?
Yes.
Yes, it was. Okay. Yeah. He was. Boy, I'd take Terrell Miller's. Boy, wouldn't you love to have him at that four? I mean, every year. I mean, he was the perfect four guy. Stretch four. He was powerful. He was big, but boy, he could stroke it.
Yes, because he could bury you around the basket. If he had a post advantage, he was going to win there, and then he could step away in space. And again, the rebounding numbers. I mean, when you're talking about a guy who gives you for his career 15.6 and 8.4, and does it with nearly 50% shooting overall and 40% shooting from three. Those are rare birds indeed in terms of his talent. But we had a couple of really special ones there. His partners in 16, 17, and then another guy that when you look at 2-year careers, and we've had some great ones. But Jonathan Stark, who is part of the group that's the fastest ever to 1,000 points, it only took him 48 games to do that. But Lindy, one of the things that you'll love about Jonathan Stark, obviously the shooting, but also he was an energizer bunny, a guy that just went and went and went. 36.6 minutes his first year, 36.4 the second, 21.9 points in year one, 21.4. All told, it's 21.7 a game for his 2-year career. 218 of 530 from three for 41%. At the foul line, he got there often for a man his size. 250 of 290, 86% career free throw shooter. He also had nearly 300 assists to go with his 1,408 points. And man, oh man, could he heat it up in a hurry.
Oh, he really could. He really could. He was the guy that when I first went in there and saw him coming in, transfer, the thing I noticed about him was kind of the similar thing I noticed about Isaiah Cannon. Their games are kind of a lot alike, really.
Yes.
If you really want to get down to it.
Yep.
Was he could shoot the basketball. He could flat out shoot it, and he had a character of a 10. His character was a 10, and it is today. He's doing all kinds of good things down there in West Tennessee for the youth. Super kid, well deserving of his. I think he's in the Hall of Fame already. I'm almost for sure he's in the Hall of Fame. A guy that kind of got caught in the he's probably one of those guys that's even better than he's recognized for, just because of where he got into the shuffle.
I would agree, because his first year they didn't win,
right?
And his second year he plays with Ja Morant.
Exactly.
And even though Ja was pulled back and more facilitator that first year, when people take the snapshot back in history, because you have Cannon NBA, you have Payne NBA, you have Morant all-timer, and it's easy for Jonathan to get lost in that shuffle. But in terms of shooter scorer, he ranks with anybody.
In fact, I think the cover of the Racer Insider that Jonathan Stark owns says the next great one or something like that.
Yeah.
But the next one, he's the next.
And he
was. And I'm really glad that he got Ja Morant came in for his senior year and allowed him to go out on a winner. And and Jonathan Stark, and the story's been told and everybody's heard it 100 times. I'm going to tell it just in case there's one that didn't. He was a point guard. He came here to play point guard. He was our point guard. Ja Morant came in. Jonathan Stark, after not very much up and downs during the summer, went to Coach McMahon and told him that this kid needs to be playing the point guard. And that was quite a sacrifice for him, because he's 6 foot, 5'11", maybe 6'1".
Yeah, he was listed at 6 feet, but probably wasn't.
No, but he could hit some game winners, and he's one of those guys. He's probably the best. Him and Isaiah, it's close, but Stark may be the best stop and pop guy I've seen.
Yeah, well, you said the similarities in their game.
Come up and elevate. He elevated on his jump shot too.
Yep.
He got up and he could flat out shoot it. What'd you say his 3-point field goal percentages were?
41%.
41%. Man, those 40% guys. What come along with all those 40% guys, Travis?
I think a lot of wins.
A lot of wins. Okay.
A lot of wins. Yeah, I mean, again, the comparison between Isaiah and Jonathan's fantastic, and they both were fantastic. But again, we're so glad we can shine the light on these guys and remind you of how good they were. So, along with Terrell and Jonathan, and of course this Morant fellow that we'll close with, one of my favorite guys to watch all time, another guy that should not be forgotten in the infusion of what turned the program back to a championship level. Leroy Shaq Buchanan, one of our all-time great athletes, maybe the best opposite-handed dunker I've ever seen. The man and his left-handed dunks, and just all of a sudden, just like lightning, bang, He's got the ball down in the cylinder. And Shaq's one of those guys. He averaged 13 points a game as a senior. He was a guy that was great stealing the basketball. He had 51 years, 60 another. But he was just a highlight reel player. But Shaq was one of those guys. The numbers will not do him justice. You had to have seen him to appreciate how terrific he was.
Yeah, he was. And now I have to say, I'm going to admit this because I like to talk about the ones I was right on. Okay.
Then he's got a parade going there.
Well, you know, our office is at 905 Sycamore over here close to the hospital. If anybody needs a quote today. No, yeah.
I'm going to throw it up on the screen, Lindy. There it is.
There it is one more time. But I remember when I was in there and pick up games, Shaq came in there and they're all new and he's shooting the ball every time down the floor. Shooting the ball every time down the floor.
And was not a great shooter, by the way.
No, and it was getting on my nerves. And I'll have to say, and I had not a lot, but when me and Aubrey disagreed on something, you know, sometimes he was right and sometimes I was wrong. And he just looked at me like kind of funny when I made a comment, he ain't going to start. He looked at me and said, he's going to start. So, you know, he was right and I was wrong on that one. And Shaq ended up being a really, really good player, a player that by 6'3", kind of guard, you know, probably kept him from taking his career any higher. It was probably just his size. But boy, he could play the game. He could play the game.
Yeah, and he was just one of those guys. He almost defied position without being a shooter. And to Shaq's credit, he came in the first year and he didn't take a ton of threes, but he by his senior or his second year here, he got it up to 33% from deep, which made it just a little bit because they were going to give him room. They were going to try to take away the drive. But he was just that guy that in big moments, I mean, it was going to be the run the passing lane and the steal and the dunk, and he just changed momentum in the building. Maybe it was a tip dunk, a putback dunk, and there were just so many of those moments that he got people off of their feet. Over the 2 years, it's 722 points. It's 110 steals. Again, it's a lot of wins. But he was just another guy that helped change the energy from it had gotten a little bit negative in the couple of years before, and it just became joy. And that's kind of what I think about when I think about Shaq Buchanan and what he brought to the table for the Racers. And then, of course, we open with Isaiah Cannon. We close with Ja Morant. And Lindy, I just laughed today when I was going over the numbers because, look, we saw it. We know what happened. We know what he did, and he just dropped jaws all over America, not just in our area and in the league, but everywhere they went. But to look at that sophomore year, and folks, as a freshman, 12.7 points. He shot nearly 46%. The three, of course, was a work in progress. He shot 31% from three, but he was already shooting 81% at the foul line. He grabbed 6.5 rebounds as a freshman and handed out 201 assists. And that is working within the framework of Stark, of Miller, of Shaq. Year two, the ball in the club is fully his, and he averages 24.5 points a game. He shoots 50% overall. He shoots 36% from three. He goes to the foul line 272 times, makes 221 free throws at an 81.3% clip. He grabs 6 more rebounds a game, and he sets a single season school record in scoring and an assist with 331, which allows him to become the school's all-time assist leader in 2 years. 1,213 points, 532 assists, 396 rebounds, and 11 million dunks and highlight reel plays, and a lot of winning.
GOAT, especially for that senior season. I don't know of any player that had a senior season like Ja Morant in the history of Murray State basketball.
Yeah. As a sophomore in his final year.
As a sophomore, like I've said, I'll never forget T. Morant. They came to all the games. T sat beside me. And for the first tip-off, he looked over at me and said, that grin, that big old grin he's got, and he said, "You're going to see Crestview High School's Ja Morant this year." And that's what he meant. You're going to
Pretty
see it
good
all
show.
this year. You didn't see it all last year. You're going to see it all this year. And boy, was he right. What a talent. I feel so fortunate to have been able to sit right there in seat 12. Well, I'll sit in seat 12 sometimes, and watch him play. Just the things that he did were just, and he still can do them in the NBA. I was worried about his health, and he's having a hard time with that. But I can't imagine a more entertaining, swagger, underdog, you name it. What a story.
Yep.
The story is all true. I remember Kane calling me on the phone. He called me and told me that story that's been told over and over and over. And thank goodness he stuck to his commitment with us, because a lot of big boys were coming in at the end, especially Frank Martin from South Carolina. But he stuck with us. And of course, he's one of those guys that you wonder now what would he have been worth after his freshman year.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, there's no telling. I mean, it would have been really hard for us to have been able to hold on to him for his sophomore year. But he would have been the one guy we'd have probably, I don't know if Cam would have got more money after his freshman year or not, a whole lot, but he would have been worth it. Jai would have been very, very valuable. But the things he did, he's got the win in the NCAA tournament too, which I always count really a lot. I put a lot of stock in those guys that win games in the NCAA tournament. Probably would have won a couple of more if we just hadn't got the most terrible matchups that you could get for us. The Florida State matchup with all the big 7-footers, and then that West Virginia group was so tough the year before his freshman year. But he held his own out there then as a freshman. But just the what all happened that year with him. I mean, you go back to Isaiah, and then you think about Isaiah's junior year, and Dick Vitale here, and top 10 in the country, and my gosh, New York Times, everybody's down here. I'm even being interviewed, and this is crazy. And then to think, and then here we come several years later at the end of the decade, and you've got Ja Morant. And he's on TV every night, ESPN, Run Home, man, top 10, all the Seth Greenberg, all of them talking about Ja Morant, game day, Ja Morant. And wow. I mean, and what a fun 2 years. Watching him play, boy, that's special. No doubt about it. He's the best 2-year player and probably the most talented player. And if he'd been here for 4 seasons, my goodness. We don't even know what it would have been if he'd have played 4 years. We might have made it to the Final Four.
Yeah. He was a legitimate All-American. One team.
Yeah.
All-American. He was as good and as impactful, especially offensively, as any guard in America.
Yes.
I mean, again, we're talking about
unselfish. How many shots did he take against that great game against Marquette? He didn't take hardly any shots in that game.
25 points a game and 10 assists and 6 rebounds.
That's crazy.
Okay. It's entirely possible if and of course ifs and buts. But to think about who he became physically as he got to the NBA and he had to get bigger and stronger. If it's the old days and he stays for 4 years, you're talking about a player who, as a senior at 21, 22 years old, is probably flirting with, if not achieving, a triple-double. He would have only had to decide that he wanted to, right?
Right.
And he could have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And those plays he made, man, every night. And that's funny when I see him transition into the NBA, I hear all these NBA guys talking. And I'm thinking, man, we've been saying that same thing down here for 2 years. He's doing the same thing up there as he did here. And that was amazing. Man, I hope he gets back healthy and gets another run at it, though. I really do. Well, what a career. It's funny. Murray State basketball must have some of the greatest stories of anyone. When you go back and you look at the stories of our stars, it's incredible. Jeff Martin, Cherry Valley, Arkansas. Nobody hardly knew about him at all. Popeye Jones, big old boy down here in Dresden, didn't have a scholarship offer, I reckon. And then you come into a Ja Morant, no stars, 0 stars.
And that in and of itself is amazing.
Amazing. I
consider.
mean, just amazing story after amazing story there. We need
This
another amazing story, Travis.
Well, they absolutely do. And Lindy, again, these guys, we talked about this a little bit at the end of episode 14, but OVC players of the year, Isaiah in 11 and 12 and 12 and 13, Cam in 14, 15, Jonathan Stark in 17, 18, Ja in 18 and 19, freshman of the year. Aska was a freshman of the year. Cannon was a freshman of the year. Payne was a freshman of the year. Incredibly, Ja was not, if you can believe that.
Who was?
I remember us talking about it back then, but I'd have to go. I'd have to go look.
They probably played at Martin, and they were like 1-15.
There's a good chance that was the story. Scoring champs in the league: Cannon, Payne, Stark twice, Morant, rebounding champ in the league, Daniel, assist champ, Morant, who was also the national assist leader, steals, Jenkins did it, field goal percentage, Williams did it, threes, Cannon did it, free throw, Jenkins did it, blocks, Daniel did it. Excellence, excellence, excellence. Isaiah was a 4-time All-OVC player. Payne, Williams, Jenkins, Aska, Miller, Stark, and Morant, all 2-time, and some of them only could do it 2-time. They were 2 for 2. It's just an unbelievable buffet of greatness. Hashtag winner, Lindy. I think we understand. Hashtag why.
Hashtag winner. And this was the last year of the Racer Insider.
There you go.
Might ought to bring it back. You think if I bring it back, we can get us another John Morant or Jonathan Stark or Isaiah Cam?
All I know is the Insider's record is pretty good.
Oh man!
If I don't know anything, I
that was fun going through memory lane there.
Well, and Lindy, the only thing I would offer, and it's a different ball game. It's a different world. You know, there was a long time where people came to Murray State to come to Murray State.
Yeah.
And then we had a brief spot where probably players were coming to play for the person who recruited them or for the head coach they would play for. Now the elements are a little bit different, but I will say that I do believe this, and the women's game and the men's game right now are not the same. They're similar. It's getting more similar, but it's not the same. But I will say that we do have young women who are still coming to Murray State to play for the family and the community they see here.
Yeah, exactly.
I would lean hard into that. And the idea that the money you are going to pay, you know, if somebody shows up and they're on your radar and it immediately begins about how much can you pay, there's a chance you don't need them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not so naive or foolish to think that money's not going to be an issue. I understand that it will be. But if you are looking for people who can play basketball at a high level, who want to be a part of something bigger than themselves, and I still believe those people exist, and it may take some money to get them here, but there is an opportunity here, and there is a support here. These people hunger to fill the building. They really want to. But it's a discerning crowd because they watch the people that we just talked about. They are used to championships. They are used to banners. But I'm going to tell you, if somebody from the current situation said, what bothers people most, I'm going to tell them, you can tell them, other people can tell them, it's an absence of connectedness, and it's an absence of consistent heart and courage per effort.
Yep.
It's real.
It's real.
And so the first question that when you're seeking out should not just be talent. And you got to understand this anyway, because what does everybody else have? Talent. Okay. Belmont has talent. Illinois State has talent. UIC has talent. Drake will have talent. But do you have toughness and character? And can you summon the ability to play for this a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
And I would say a little less talent and a little more heart and a little bit more team first is going to outplay talent every day. Because if you want to know the new market inefficiency, where can you get the bulge on somebody? Where can you get the win? You let them go hire the mercenaries. You let them get the guys who instead of numbers have dollar signs on the back. You let them get those guys who are going to fold when it gets tough or if the check isn't big enough, and you go get a bunch of junkyard dogs that play because they love it. Let's see what happens.
And that's the reason we had a lot of the success we had during that time period, is all those guys fit that description.
And Lindy, if you lose a guy because a guy came in with a chip on his shoulder.
Yes.
A la Isaiah Cannon, a la Ja Morant, a la Campaign. Let them blow up and be bought.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you're going to benefit from the guy with the chip on his shoulder.
Oh, no doubt. We always have.
As long as he's here, you're going to be that guy. That toughness and hey, a little bit of mean, a little bit of relentless is going to be who marks your program. You want people to leave and say, "My God, it's hard to play against Murray."
Yeah.
Those guys are insane. And if you think back to everything that we've done, who among these guys? You already told the story of Jeff Martin and Don Mann from Cherry Valley and Dyersburg, Popeye from Dresden, Marcus Brown overlooked from West Memphis, Arkansas. Who are the guys? You talked about who Les Taylor was, but Les is unique. Most of our stars are guys that nobody knew who they were.
Exactly.
Go dig them up.
Yeah.
Go dig them up. Go develop them. See what happens. If everybody else is going to do it this way, go do it another way. Be smarter. Be tougher. Be sharper. Be more connected. Again, Mike Krzyzewski used to tell the story. It's a great story. One finger. They don't do a lot of damage. Won't you ball them up and see what happens?
There you go. Never heard that one before. That's a good one. Yeah.
Ball them up and see what happens. Hey, Good enough for him. Good enough for us. But you said it. This trip down memory lane, man, it has been an absolute blast. Next week, we'll make sure we get to Tevin and KJ in the 20s, and then we'll ask the question, what next? But each one of these decades through the lens of the Racer Insider and the Racer Historian, it's one of the neat treasures that you have is over 60 years, 60s to 70s to 80s to 90s to the aughts to the teens, getting to see all these great players that have hung all those banners and more than anything have created all these great memories.
What a blessing. What a blessing to have grew up here. I wouldn't trade my life following the Murray State Racers for anything. Going back to the 60s, sitting on that corner as a kid to today.
Yep.
And seeing all the great players, all the great games, it's just mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling.
And it is why
there's a lot of places, and gosh, please, people, I've said it over and over, don't take this for granted. There's a lot of towns that don't have this right here. A lot of cities we could have grew up in and not had this. I could have grew up in Cookeville, Tennessee, and never seen my team go to the NCAA tournament. By the way, they fired Pelfrey today, Travis.
Oh, man.
Yep, he's gone.
Yeah, well.
He needed to go. He ain't done nothing. So there's only one. I read there's only one. Mark Story said there's only one former UK player coaching right now, and he's the Kentucky coach.
Well, hey, Coach Green always told me, he said, Travis, there's two kinds of coaches, those who have been fired and those who are going to be.
That's true. That's very, 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 very true.
It's a tough business. And listen, we live in a world now where it's tougher than it has ever been.
Ever been.
Because patience is about that long.
Yeah. We're not very patient around here. And now I'm sure there's not going to be very much patience at all with the current situation. But, we're going to talk about the next decade in the next show. And there's two players on it right now. What year is it?
Yeah, we're to 26, folks.
Two players.
We're to 26. Yeah.
Considering adding Fred, maybe. We'll see. See how it ends.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's Gary Hooker did it in 1 year, but he was the player of the year.
Player of the year.
So
yeah.
That's your bar. And listen, the 2 year guys are Townsend, Mays, Morant, Stark, Miller, Williams. A high bar, and it should be.
Yeah, TJ Sapp 2 year, right?
Yep. BJ. and all these guys were either all-time greats or they were winners of championships.
No kidding. Yeah.
So there's your bar right there. But you know what they need to look for first? We said it, the next Juwan Long. First guy to look for.
You got it. That's Steve Prohn's first recruit.
Yep.
I said it in the last episode, but if you didn't get to hear it, everybody needs to remember that a lot of those names right there, Steve Prohn was part of the program as either an assistant coach recruiting, and believe me, I know who the lead recruiters are. I don't now, but I used to. He's the one that recruited him, and ain't no telling how many trips that Steve Prohn made down there to Alabama to make sure Ed Daniel was doing what he was supposed to do.
Yep.
It'd be a weekly trip down there. And then, he was, I know it didn't end well for Steve, but he's a Hall of Famer. He's one of our all-time greatest coaches, maybe one of our best recruiters, probably has more banners that he's part of up there than maybe him and T. Him and T probably have the most banners up there that they were part of. And never the last couple of years, the unfortunate situation of how it all happened and all that all kind of needs to be forgotten now. Let's focus on what Steve Prohn did for Murray State University during that time period.
Yep.
Because I'm not for sure, Travis. You tell me, did anybody do any better? No.
I mean, the greatest heights happened in this last window, in this decade that we're talking about, with Steve's best teams and Matt's best teams. And of course, Matt was here because of Steve.
And James Kane found Ja Morant down there in the bottom of that gym because Steve Prohn hired James Kane as a guy that was the video coordinator at VCU in Alabama.
One of the interesting things when I have these conversations with Lindy over the years, anytime there has been a coaching change, the first concern he would always have every time is who's the recruiter.
Yeah.
That's because, look, we understand. I don't care how great your coaching is, and there's lots of great coaches. Everybody's a better coach when you have guys that are on the team from the all 2010s, right?
No question about it.
Everybody gets a lot sharper.
That's right.
When you got those guys. So absolutely fun. And this, for this year, we've just absolutely had a blast with this concept. It's been great and necessary, of course, to remember all these great players. Well, my man, I've wrung you out for 2 hours today for 2 episodes. So we got to get you a little rest and a little recovery, but absolutely awesome to take this journey with you and to see all this through your lens. And hopefully more chapters to come, but special to remember this history. Folks, we'll be back next week post Missouri Valley Tournament. We'll have episode 16. We'll talk about Tevin and KJ and also kind of look forward to what's next for the Racers. Hopefully we're talking about them having had a miracle run and punching a ticket. If that's the case,
it could happen. It could happen. It could happen. It's not impossible.
Absolutely.
Now, Vegas thinks it's $100. You bet 100 on us to win it, you get 1,000.
That's pretty good investment. I might
bet 10.
Wait a minute, I can't.
No,
I can't even think about gambling.
I can't either. I'm not going to do that stuff. I like to pick them, but I don't like to bet them.
But let's hope that happens. We'd love to be talking about that in episode 16.
One thing, Travis, if I can talk you back to coming back next year and doing this, we need to go through all those coaches.
If anybody can talk me back, it'll be you.
I want to do that because I want to cover I'd like to. We covered all the players. I'd like to go back,
break down the coaches.
Yeah, we'll do that next year.
For my brother, I would consider that. Okay. I don't even have to have a raise. I just have to have time.
Well, you're pretty expensive. You know that.
It is quite a rate. Somebody owes me back pay out there.
Hey, by the way, I've had 2 people come up to me and say, "Hey, I love your podcast and everything, and if we want to make it sure you keep it going, do you need some sponsorships?"
What?
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. How about that?
Like money?
Yeah, we can put some of those things right around that. Well, there's probably
listen. I can. My man, I can sell space. I mean, just like crazy, I can make anything you want put up on this screen. Let me see if I can make this come up here.
In fact, McBee Heating and Air was one of them. Jim McBee Heating and Air called me.
Look at there.
There you go. Spend your money here. Hey, no kidding, y'all. A lot of these times on these podcasts, I show up. This guy right here prepares. He does a lot of work, all these statistics, all this stuff that you listen to all year. That doesn't happen just showing up and throwing it out. He has to spend some time looking it up. And I'm very fortunate to be able to have done this podcast with you, Travis. You don't know how much I missed it during your time off. I tried to do it with other people. Nobody's better than you. And in my opinion, you're a national. You've got the talent, and you're as talented as anybody in the country.
Well, I appreciate that, my friend.
And I've listened to a lot. I've watched a lot. I've listened to people's opinions, and you're right up there at the top.
A lot of people that are.
You're another guy like you're one of those guys like my brother Larry that can say something to me, and I'll say, "Damn, I never thought about it that way." You and brother Larry probably threw the most of them at me in the past 10 years than anybody. Dang, I've never thought about it that way.
We have a lot of folks that are still with us from the old days. We've got a lot of loyal friends and people, but for folks that have just found us or just started to have to tolerate us, Lindy and I have done this a long time. In fact, when we first started on my radio show, when he became a very integral part of what we did, that was 18 years ago, incredibly, that we started that journey together. And so, you talked about the preparation, the way that I've always worked is the way that I still work now. If you're going to take the time to watch this, we want to give you something that is unique and valuable. And Lindy's experience and his passion for this, that's our greatest weapon, is that he loves this. He knows this inside and out, and you all know that about him. The other thing is, and this is one thing, if young broadcasters or people who are jumping into broadcasting, if they came and said, what is it that I need to bring to the table? Bring information. Okay. An opinion is fine. It's fine to have your opinion, but let it be backed up with information. Okay. Otherwise it's like body parts that everybody has. It does not have quite as much weight if you don't have information or some kind of perspective. And that's just like I'll tell you about our ESPN Plus broadcast. One of the things I appreciate about the job that former racer women's coach Rob Cross is doing is you can tell when you listen to Rob, he does an incredible amount of prep, incredible amount of prep. One of the other things you hear when you listen to these ESPN Plus broadcasts in places where they don't have budget to hire people, maybe it's student workers, it's a guy getting $100 a game. Look, they're trying, but you've got guys trying to be analysts who aren't analysts. You've got play-by-play guys who are trying to be analysts who shouldn't be analysts. If you're a play-by-play guy, call the action and the score.
Thank you.
Know who the players are, know how to pronounce their names, maybe give some information. If an analyst, if you're not a former coach or player, then stick to adding more information. And then one thing to think about doing on television is shut up.
I turn it down.
Because people can see it.
People can see it down. I mean, you're watching the game, plays going on, and they're talking about something that happened 3 years ago or some player. Yeah. It's just driving me crazy. I turn it down.
But these guys get on ESPN Plus and they think they're going to be Jay Billis. Guys, that's not happening unless you're good enough. And if you're good enough, that'll take care of itself. But we've got a generation who some of them want to be Gus Johnson and they want to scream on everything. Hey, first quarter at 12-8 is not a good time to be hollering. If it becomes a point of momentum, if it's a big situation, then a little extra energy that is imparted to the audience. But it's just, that's another thing we may do, Lindy. We may start the Turner Broadcast Academy. We'll try to help America with this problem. Otherwise, athletic departments just put a camera up that shows the floor and back away.
I wish you had that option right now.
Oh man.
Just hear the crowd, hear the band, and all that. I just assumed I would. I really wish you had that option now.
Yeah, and then for those of you that want to, for a large fee, I'll come over to your house and I'll narrate the broadcast for you.
That'd be a smart move.
And I'll play both roles. We'll have a good time with that. I tell you, one of the things that you and I need to do sometime is we may need to set up our studio and we may need to broadcast an old game
That would be cool.
and add commentary over it.
That'd be cool. I've got the games.
That would be kind of be neat. But we love the history. You guys know that. And as Lindy said, thanks to all of you that have tuned in all season long with kind words. And look, we understand you're not always going to agree with us. The voice that speaks in my mind all the time, I'll never forget it. Back when Matt's teams were struggling, right before Ja and Shaq came in, and Lindy and I were trying to be positive on the radio show every week. And Lindy comes in and he said, yeah, he said, we had a guy on the message board said he didn't give a rat's ass what Lindy and Travis think. And I said, man, that guy's a genius, an absolute genius. So everybody that listens, you may not give a rat's ass, and that's okay. You don't have to agree, but we appreciate you watching and listening anyway. We have had a fun year, even as it's kind of been up and down. But you know what? Live to fight another day. They will this weekend. And hey, there's going to be a season next year. And I'll tell you, Lindy, this is one other thing, and we'll get to the Go Racers and finish here in just a second. But I want to say this. If you want reason to be optimistic and to believe, and I'm going to speak to you simply from the perspective of the husband of the Racer women's coach. You have a university president, an athletic department, and an athletic director that have chosen to invest in what we are doing. They have chosen to invest in what we are doing. And I'm going to be honest with you. I have been very, very critical and very clear about that my wife needs to be compensated fairly for what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Her program needs the resources to continue to have their success. And from everything I can tell, a plan is in place to make sure that happens.
Hallelujah.
Our men's program is giving the resources it needs to compete at the top of the Missouri Valley. Now, it's going to be critical that money be spent wisely. Okay, big money means nothing. Smart money means everything. That has to happen. But as a fan base, I believe you can be excited for a plan to make that happen.
Oh, yeah.
And Lindy, it's so much better than being one of these programs that has nothing and they're going to have nothing. That's tough.
Exactly. Yeah, that's one of the things I really like, the way everything's headed. Nico's done a lot of incredible things while he's been here. And that's one thing, he's a football guy, played football here, but he knows where the money needs to be invested, where it needs to go. And he has gone out, he's worked his tail off. And he's got the plan. He has the plan. We just got to execute it. And like you said, it helps having a president of the university that is all in too.
Yep.
Because at the bottom line, what is Murray State University is known for its athletic programs. That's where you're going to get the most publicity. That's where you're going to get the most advertising value. We proved it over and over and over again. But it's really good to see a president and an athletic director embrace it. Yep. And try to carry it further instead of trying to keep everything kind of the same, just kind of keep everything happy. And he's trying to advance the program.
Yeah, it's a time in college athletics, at least at the Division I level, and I hate a little bit that we're here, but we are here, and it's going to be those who decide to go forward and those that decide to go elsewhere. And it's pretty exciting to know that we have a vision and a plan to be the athletic department that goes forward. And I do think it's going to require a little patience. We talked about it last week when I did the Coach A and Coach B. You brought it up this week, Lindy, about Rochelle and the time it took, but allowed to execute her vision. She's done it, and it can happen for the men again. We love winning. We want to be top at the Missouri Valley Conference, just like we were top of the OVC. Just give it a little more time.
Yeah, a little bit more time. And we did. I mean, one thing I wanted to do is get up there in that top four.
Yep.
We wanted to, we did accomplish that. I think we got a little greedy at the early of the year when, especially after watching that Akron game.
Sure.
Well, I mean, had every reason to be, but we still had and it's not over. It's not over. It's not over. I know we've got those 3 games. We could win them. Even if we lose those games, it'd be interesting to see what we would do in the current, how it's going to work with all these other little tournaments they have now, like the College Insider we
Right,
won that one
right.
year, with the portal and kids. I mean, who knows if they want to stay and play? You know, they may want to go ahead and start their visits. When does the portal open up?
Well, I believe, Lindy, they have thankfully moved that date back
After
to
the
the
tournament?
Final Four.
So you think they moved it after the tournament then? 'Cause
Well,
didn't.
I think it's been moved back to the week of the Final Four.
Okay, good deal.
Yeah.
Good deal.
So that's advantageous. Now, I will say this relative to what happens. I think the reality for the Racers is probably going to be they win and go to the NCAA tournament, or they're done. And the reason I say that simply is I believe moving the portal will make it better for teams that are legitimately moving towards postseason play. For everybody else, what they're going to be faced with is guys making business decisions.
Yeah.
Because unless everybody is all in, I think your kids that are looking and considering are going to say, I'm not going to jeopardize myself further if I think I might leave, even if I think I might leave. And so that's going to be problematic. And I do wonder about the future of some of these other tournaments because of those realities. You've already seen how it's affected the bowls that are not the playoff, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so it'll be really interesting to see what happens going forward. But one last thing for the Racers: win Friday, and then become the underdog.
That's right. Exactly.
Just
make
make
the underdog. Go in there with a chip on our shoulder.
Yeah, team house
Everybody
money.
wrote us off. Nobody thinks we're going to win this thing.
Yeah, us against the world. So we will see what happens. My friend, a fabulous morning. 2 great shows coming to the folks. We thank you for it, and we'll let you get away with that signature sign off.
Go Racers.